Hello and welcome to the Inns of Court Armoured Car Regiment channel. Today we will be covering the events of April the 1st to April the 7th, 1945. April the 1st. A Squadron took over from D Squadron, whom were positioned at Nijkerken, sending out patrol to Venrode, which encountered scattered light resistance. This patrol remained in observation of the village for the remainder of the day. C Squadron occupied some positions on the left flank of the 11th Armoured Division along the Aarhus to Rhine Road, handing the positions over to the 11th Hussars as the 7th Armoured Division caught up with the 11th Armoured Division. This was done until the 7th Armoured Division had reached Nijkerken, after which C Squadron joined H Squadron in reserve at Emsdetten. Due to the combination of poor weather and the pace of the Allied advance, which meant that they had outpaced their forward aerodromes, fighter cover was limited and the Luftwaffe were taking advantage of the situation. Patrol at Venrode was harassed, but thankfully no damage or casualties were inflicted, even managed to bag themselves an ME-109. Patrols at Venrode were recalled at 1745 hours. B Squadron, which was still with the 6th Airborne Division, had crossed the River Ems at first light, but was not able to cross the Dartmouth-Ems Canal, as no suitable bridge was available for their vehicles, so B Squadron went into reserve for the first time in 5 days. April the 2nd. With B Squadron being in reserve, the regiment took advantage of this and took B Squadron back into their fold at first light, transferring it from the command of the 6th Airborne to that of the 11th Armoured Division. A and D Squadrons remained in reserve, while C Squadron spent the day at 1 hour's notice. At 2000 hours, 2 squadrons were called upon to protect the flanks of the 23rd Hussars and the 3rd Royal Tank Regiment, which had both crossed the Dartmouth-Ems Canal and were continuing to advance. C Squadron attached itself to the 23rd Hussars, while D Squadron attached itself to the 3rd Royal Tank Regiment. However, due to poor weather, any further advance was slowed. April the 3rd. As the tank elements of the 11th Armoured Division continued their advance, C and D Squadrons, which were positioned on the flanks, sent patrols down every side road in order to provide flank protection to the 11th Armoured Division and forward reconnaissance for the 7th Armoured Division. C Squadron managed to get patrols as far north of Westernapper, Versen, and the crossroads north of Hamburen, while D Squadron managed to get patrols as far south as Hasbergen and east of Lothar. Resistance was light, although enemy tank hunting parties equipped with Panzerfaust had to be dealt with. C Squadron's patrols continued north to examine the bridges at Hallen. Lieutenant Greenberg's troop found all 3 of the bridges intact, although prepared for demolition. The bridges were captured and held until relieved later that night, as the bridges laid upon the axis of advance for the 7th Armoured Division. The enemy did attempt to retake the bridges, but all attacks were repelled. For these actions, Lieutenant Greenberg was awarded the Military Cross. D Squadron's patrols pushed on to the outskirts of Osnabrück, where they made contact with the forward elements of the 6th Airborne Division. C Squadron's patrols held their positions for the night, while D Squadron set up a position at the road junction near Gothfeld. A and B Squadron were in reserve for the day, although they each did send out a patrol to Leder and Tecklenburg, respectively. It is noted in the records that Trooper R.H. Grazier was killed on this day, but no further record is present in the war diary. April the 4th. The 7th Armoured Division was meeting stiff resistance at Ibbenbüren, so C Squadron held its current positions, awaiting their advance. Due to this, B Squadron was called upon to provide the flank protection to the left flank of the 11th Armoured Division's advance. Meanwhile, D Squadron remained on the right flank, crossing the Zeigkan-Osnabrück Canal at Eversheide, and sending patrols out to Bem, Schildhausen, and Wehrendorf. At Wehrendorf, contact was once again established with the 6th Airborne Division. Having also crossed the Zeigkan-Osnabrück Canal, B Squadron turned north towards the Ems-Weser Canal and was successful in capturing 4 bridges, thanks to the tenacity of Major Smile. The best 2 bridges were held in preparation for the 7th Armoured Division, which was still some 20 miles behind. For these actions, Major R.P.P. Smile was awarded the Military Cross and mentioned in dispatches. Some of B Squadron's patrols also crossed the canal and carried out reconnaissance to the north, in the area west of Fenner Moor. The 29th Armoured Brigade was advancing so quickly that A Squadron had to be pulled out from reserve to cover the extended left flank. East of the Fenner Moor, patrols were sent out to Boomter towards Lemforde, Dierlingen and Houden, but little progress was made on these routes north of Boomte due to the presence of enemy infantry equipped with Panzerfausts. As the 29th Armoured Brigade continued advancing, D Squadron had to be transferred from the right flank to the left flank of the 11th Armoured Division, which meant that the full regiment was deployed to a single flank, which extended 50 kilometres or 31 miles. D Squadron's patrols managed to reach Steinbrink and Uchte before nightfall. From 1730 hours, C Squadron was starting to be relieved by the 11th Hussars, and B Squadron was joined by the forward elements of the 7th Armoured Division at their defensive positions around the captured bridges. The patrols of A and D Squadron were kept out all night. During the day, Lieutenant H. Skelterton Smith was a victim of a fatal accident with his Vickers K machine gun. April the 5th. At first light, B Squadron was fully relieved of their positions by the 7th Armoured Division and was able to move east and follow up the general advance. A Squadron again attempted to send patrols out north from Boomte, but these again made little progress due to enemy resistance. D Squadron maintained its patrols at Steinbrink and Uchte, while C Squadron was called upon to recce the crossings of the River Weser. C Squadron's patrols were sent out towards Landesbergen and Lieselbringen. At Landesbergen it was found that the crossing was only a ferry crossing, so the patrol moved north. Resistance was met at Liebenau, in which one patrol was engaged in battle, while the others bypassed the town to recce the bridges. The bridge to the east of Liebenau was believed to be intact, although approaching the bridge wasn't possible as the track stopped about a kilometre short of the bridge. Some ammunition wagons were found on the railway line, and the patrol set about putting these ablaze. It was deemed that the bridge at Liebenau wasn't needed, as elements of the 11th Armoured Division already had bridge heads across the River Weser at Stolzenau and Schuschlerberg, and bridging operations were already underway. Therefore, C Squadron's patrols were placed into observation of Liebenau and also posted to Steierberg. In the early afternoon, A Squadron was recalled from their positions to Nendorf, where they went into reserve. B Squadron reached Uchte, where they also went into reserve for the day. The Luftwaffe were up to their normal tricks, and C Squadron managed to bag themselves a pair of Ju-88s. The bridge now being built by the 11th Armoured Division at Stolzenau was bombed twice and had to be abandoned. C Squadron later moved to Menzing-Hasusen and recalled its patrols for the night. All of the rest of the regiment's patrols were recalled for the night, except a single patrol from D Squadron, which was left out at Steinbrink. It is noted that Trooper N. Payne was wounded in action on this day, but no further record is given. April the 6th. At first light, C Squadron renewed its patrol at Steierberg and on the outskirts of Liebenau. A Squadron was ordered to send patrols up to the Lemkür-Zulingen road, and 2 patrols were dispatched. One patrol met the 7th Armoured Division at Heusinghausen and was therefore withdrawn. The other got bogged down on bad tracks near Brockhagen, so a third was dispatched taking a route further east and managed to reach Dieblinghausen, where it remained for the rest of the day. At midday, D Squadron's patrol was recalled from Steinbrink and headed to Lohr and went into reserve. At the same time, B Squadron headed to Stolzenau in order to be ready for further bridging operations. However, due to enemy aircraft, bridging operations were slowed and wouldn't be completed. In the early evening, A Squadron sent out patrols to Schinner and Steierberg. The patrol en route to Steierberg was attacked by a Stuka dive bomber, which severely damaged 2 Dingo scout cars, but no serious casualties were incurred. The patrols reached their final destination, where they would be posted through the night. April the 7th. B, C and D Squadrons started the day in reserve. B Squadron at Stolzenau, D Squadron at Lohr and C Squadron at Steierberg. A Squadron was sent out to Liebenau to make contact with the enemy. Here they observed the enemy until Todfors arrived and cleared the town. The patrol then headed north to Lieselringen to investigate the bridge, but the patrol was recalled while on its way, as it was deemed that there was likely no bridge, but in fact another ferry crossing. In Steierberg, Lieutenants Chandler and Leonard were informed that there were 2 trains stranded in the station. Upon inspection, it was found that the trains were carrying V-1 and V-2 rockets, including all of their launching apparatus. B Squadron was to no longer await the bridging operations to be completed, and was instead to cross the River Weser via the bridge built by the 6th Airborne Division at Petershagen. They harboured at Zeelenfeld alongside A Squadron of the SAS. The two would be working together for the short-term future in an informal manner. Losses over these days were 2 killed in action and 1 injured, with 2 Dingo scout cars being knocked out. References are on screen, and I hope you can join me on April the 8th in the next video in this series of the Inns of Court War Diary. Kind regards and cheerio.